Hi, welcome to my blog, Myfatbum. I'm going to be doing a few smaller recipes in this first few blog entries, and the reason why is because it's amazing how many people you get who, when you're at Slimworld, say, I've never cooked, the meals are too difficult to prepare, and also with their busy lives and they're working or kids running around all the time, I feel like the idea of going on a diet or a eating plan where you've got to cook certain types of food and meals to keep that healthy bees in check and speed food, that it's quite daunting for them. So I'm going to do a few basic recipes just to help a few people out. This is my kitchen. We rent our house, so this is the kitchen that came with the house. So, and as you see, I'm not a kitchen goddess. We're quite sort of messy. It's not really like a spotless, tidy kitchen, but that's not really the general lay of the land with most people. So we're going to go with how will you find me. So the first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to do some garlic mushrooms for you. And if I'm being too specific with stuff, apologies, but it's amazing how when you say to someone, you know, can you slice that mushroom up, they'll be like cutting the mushroom up into cubes or not even knowing what a slice is, or do you do thick or do thin. So I'll put the basics in there. I'm gonna, it's very hard in a kitchen to set up a blog video because obviously the steam and bits and pieces can get on the lens and you can't see anything. So I'm going to try and give you some close-up shots and edit them in to give you an idea of sort of a closer view of how I'm cutting up bits and pieces. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to start with is I'm going to be using chestnut mushrooms today. Now, I didn't know that button mushrooms, chestnut mushrooms and portobello mushrooms are actually the same mushroom, and it is just in a different stage of development. I absolutely hated mushrooms as a kid. I was really ill and remembered it for years, so didn't touch them. I find butter mushrooms revolting. They taste like slugs to me. But the chestnut ones I love. They're much earthier and meatier, and you can get them from almost any supermarket and high street market stall, or one of the smaller vendors on the actual marketplace. It doesn't really matter where you get them from, as long as they are looking like they're fresh. I get mine from Tesco's, and the reason I like them from Tesco's is when they come in, they're not all covered in mud. I don't go out my way to wipe them with a kitchen towel and we wash them, but I find that sort of changes the texture of them when you're cooking them initially. I just use them straight out of the packet. You can't taste dirt or anything like that. And these are actually come quite clean. So we're going to be using these today. And high in vitamin D, as you see. And these are a free food that you don't have to sin. So if you're following the Slimming World diet eating plan, I keep calling it a diet plan. I should call it an eating plan. Healthy eating plan. So I'm going to use these today, and I'm going to be using some fresh garlic. I don't use garlic presses only because I'm completely incompetent at using garlic presses. Every time I put the garlic in, it just goes flat and oozes out the side. So those things went in the bin quite a while ago. If you have any questions or comments or anything you want me to show you more clearly, please do comment on my video or contact me through the contacts page on the form provided, and I'll try and answer your questions, okay? So we'll start off with cutting up some mushrooms for you. Now for this, you probably want probably about 4 to 5 mushrooms for one person. So they come in slightly different sizes, but generally they're sort of fairly unique in the way they look, so it's easy to tell in the supermarket. So you're just cutting them into thin slices, and you're going to cut these up. And please don't try and cut really fast when you first start doing it, because you don't need any fingers in there. Okay, so we're going to start doing that, and then when we've sliced them all up, we're going to be using, most people use a saucepan actually, and you can use a saucepan, frying pan, whatever you want to do is absolutely fine. Today I'm going to be using a frying pan, hopefully with the intention of allowing you to see a bit more inside, so you can see it being cooked. Okay, so they're going to go in here. Now I'm going to use a product called Frylight. I'm not going to use Frylight, what am I talking about? I'm going to use Floralite. Now Floralite, you can look up the sin value of it in your Slimming World books or online, and I just sin this. It's not hard, it's not a heavy sin value, not hard, it's not a heavy sin value, so you can sin that, and I think it's about 1.5, 2 sins, something along those lines. I can check that up for you later. But if you use a teaspoon, make sure you measure it correctly so you're not sort of using a heaped teaspoon. We've got these little teaspoon sets, so you can use one of these and then measured out. So it says on there 1 teaspoon. You can't see that because it's too dark and too small. So I'm going to put a good dollop. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons in mine because I'm not too fussed about. You just use the side to scrape it off. And I'm going to start by just sweating these mushrooms out in the pan, and that looks like a nice big dollop, doesn't it? I'm going to sweat these mushrooms out in the pan and get them on the go after I've chopped up my garlic. So I just put that in there ready, prepped for adding the mushrooms in a minute. Okay, so the next thing you want to add is your fresh garlic. So for those who don't know, it comes in a nice big bowl. This is like been used because we love garlic in this house. This has been used quite a lot. There's only 2 or 3 little cloves left. So you're breaking off the clove. You probably, for one person, would use 1 clove of garlic, but I love garlic, and a lot of people don't like the smell of it on their hands, but I do. So what you're ending up with as you break it apart is one of these. So you've got to take the skin off, and there's a really simple way of doing that, and sort of doing it in 2 swoops really. It can be quite fiddly otherwise. So I'm going to take the skin off my garlic, and I'm going to chop it into slices, and then I'm going to chop it up into sort of tiny little sort of granule type sizes, but I'm not going to mush it. You don't really need to do that unless you find garlic particularly strong. So I'm going to take the garlic and I'm going to cut the tops off, and then I draw the skin back as I do it. As I say that, and then I do it and it doesn't actually work. That's not very good, is it? But I will put a clip on of how to get that garlic skin off quite quickly. Okay, so once you've chopped your garlic up, you're going to be placing it in the pan with a flora, and I tend to put it in all at the same time. You don't really need to sort of, you're going to put it on a low heat, and you don't really need to be waiting for the butter to melt and waiting for the garlic to cook, and you know, it doesn't really need to be that slow a process. You're looking for a nice quick meal that you can come home, chuck on, and you know, in a few minutes. I mean, we're you know, a few minutes into it and we're nearly there. So basically I'm just literally lightly chopping, and I'm going to put this all into the pan all together, and I'm going to put the mushrooms in there as well. Now you just want something like a soft utensil to be stirring that way. You don't want anything too harsh. So I've got a spatula, which is not great because it's plastic. But it'll be okay. So just turn your hob on, and then you're going to start just on a low, turn the heat down, don't need it to be roaring hot. You're just going to start mixing that around. Keep an eye on it. Oh, that one wants to escape. So you're going to start mixing that around and getting that butter spread out between the mushrooms, and you're going to start to make a lovely dish. Okay, so we'll leave that for a few minutes to get going. So what I'm going to use as well is I'm going to use this. So I use Hovis Tasty Wholemeal bread, and these are the smaller slices. So let me just have a look. Each slice is 29 grams. So I think that you could probably have 2 of these, if I'm right, for your healthy bee. But you could just have 1 and save the rest. Now I don't butter this bread when I've made the mushrooms, because you used the product, the butter, Floralite, in the actual cooking, and you do get a bit of moisture from the mushrooms as they begin to sweat down, and it's probably enough. So try it without if you can, and if you want a bit more, you could put a bit of Frylight on your bread, which probably tastes really gross. I don't want to say that actually, I've never tried Frylight on bread. or you could put a bit of extra floral light on there as well. So I will just use one of these slices and I'll be popping it in the toaster. So, excuse me just a second. I'm back. So basically just keeping an eye on these mushrooms, and what you want to make sure is that you don't overcook them. You're looking for them to just start to change colour. You don't want them to be, let's turn a bit of light on here, so it's going to help or not really. You don't want them to start to be sort of turning into a wet, soggy mess. A little bit of texture left in the mushroom makes it taste much better. Otherwise, they start to sort of resemble, like they feel a little bit slimy, and that's not really nice. So, but you can have a lovely, great big portion of this, and it's really filling and really satisfying. We often have this as an additional dish to, we eat quite a lot of fish, and I'll be doing another vlog where I actually cook some fish up, and we use sea bass, but it's quite a lot, with some lime pepper on and some lemon, and this is a really nice additional dish to have with it. And also asparagus is actually something that goes really well with this. So it's a good practice to start doing, if you're not used to cooking, to start just doing these small dishes, and then you can start to put them together. So there's not a lot of butter in here, but one of the things that you could do if you want it to be a little bit more moist is use one of these. So these fry lights are very well known in the slimming world, and they've really taken off. And this is the olive oil version, rapeseed oil version, and if you, I don't know if you can see behind me, there's literally behind my powered battery grill charger. I'll explain that another time. So we've got literally coconut version, we've got chili oil, chili oil, all really nice. So I'm going to spray a little bit of the olive oil in there. This is free, you don't have to sin this, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm going to carry on stirring that. Oh, just seen a bit more garlic on my knife, which I'll add to the pot. So just starting to, what's going on today? These are actually alive, I'm sure. So I'm just starting to break this down now, and you can see that it's actually starting to change colour. You get your really nice sort of tinge on the mushrooms, and I'm going to pop the toast on. I will rearrange my kitchen a bit better and set up the camera a bit better later too, so you can see when I disappear off the screen where I'm actually going. My toast is over there, which is really inconvenient, but I spent so long setting up the camera and bits and pieces that I would never have got it started if I didn't do it now. So this is nearly ready. Now at this stage I'm going to be turning the heat off because I like the look of this. I don't want to, I'm just going to use the heat in the pan to finish it off. I don't need to add any more additional heat to it. It looks perfectly fine as it is. So you can see there, they've just changed colour and they've got that nice sort of shiny glow to them, but there's not a lot of water in the bottom of that pan, which is actually, if you start to overcook them, they tend to lose their texture and get quite slimy, as I said before. So I'm happy with them like that. So I'm going to get my toast, get myself a plate. I don't think you can see out my window. I don't think you can actually. No, you can't see out my window. No, you definitely can't because the sun's shining. It's actually starting to snow. So it's beautiful sunshine, but it's snowing. But that's okay. English weather, we love it. So let's just clear that. And we're going to pop the toast on there. And the mushrooms are ready. So I'm just going to pop the toast up. It's taken far too long. And I'm really impatient. So I'm going to pop the toast on there, and then the mushrooms go on the top. And if you want some additional salt, taste it first, because the garlic is naturally quite salty, has a quite salty taste. So if you're a salt fan, which in our family we are, we use a product called low salt. That's not very nicely presented, is it? So we use a product called So Low. which is obviously much better for you to have a bit more reduced salt. This is actually really nice. So if you want a bit of that on there, you can. So I'm going to try a bit of that on there. And then have a little taste test. Let's have a look. See what they taste like. Lovely, lovely garlic mushrooms on toast. And as I said, you can use them as a complement to any meal as well. So here we go. Perfect. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.